Welcome everyone back to BGS. Today we have the amazing Niki Mahon on the show. She is the founder, director and designer at Nikita, a sustainable jewellery and homeware brand, female owned and run for the last 10 years. I have been a customer of Nikita's myself for years now, and a proud owner of the stunning elephant incense holder that my friend gifted me for my birthday and has been a showstopper at Diwali this year for us. I'm also currently wearing the Athena necklace, the goddess of wisdom, war and strategy, topics that we'll actually be delving into today. With a lifelong flair for creativity, aesthetics and functional design, Niki has built a stellar brand that so many women look up to for its design, strength, authenticity and thoughtful customer care. So welcome, Niki, to BGS.
Thank you so much for having me. That was such a lovely intro. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm really glad. I didn't run it by you, so I was hoping it would be accurate.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's lovely.
So, Niki, Nikita is 10 years old this year.
I know, it makes me feel so old. But I can't believe it's been a decade.
Yeah.
It's been a journey for sure. Lots of ups and downs. But yeah, I can't quite believe I'm here really after all this time, when it was kind of semi-unintentional, to be honest, at the beginning. So yeah, lots to celebrate.
Yeah, definitely. And what better way than to reflect on the journey and talk about, I guess, what's going on for you now. So how are you feeling right now, both professionally and personally?
Pivotal, I'd say. At the time we're recording, I'm 14 weeks pregnant, so which is really exciting. So definitely reflecting a lot more and just so in tune with like my body and what's going on, and it's just a really beautiful phase of life to be in, quite honestly. I mean, the first trimester was definitely humbling, but I'm like stepping into it now. I'm really enjoying the whole feminine surge. I feel like the hormones are great, and I'm feeling good and I'm really excited. So I think I was able to kind of do this as and when my partner and I were ready, rather than be pressured into it, which I'm sure we'll talk about later anyway. So very exciting for me at the moment. And so that's personal. And then business wise, feeling quite I don't know, I feel like I'm basically working smarter rather than harder, which I'm so excited to talk about, because I don't know if that's really spoken about enough. I think everyone's kind of grinding a lot, or just starting businesses online, but the people that have kind of a bit more seasoned, how are they going about kind of living more of a kind of soft life after having burnt the candle at both ends for so long? And yeah, I kind of like to describe myself as a bit of a cozypreneur. So I'm definitely in that era right now. And I think that lent really well into fertility and this stage of my life anyway. So it's transitioned quite nicely for me, but definitely different to where I was a couple of years ago for sure.
Oh, yeah. How intriguing. I feel like we've caught you at such an interesting time in your life. And congratulations on the pregnancy. I had to feign surprise because I knew.
Yeah, I had to give you a heads up. I was like, just so you know, I'm pregnant, so I'm going to see how I feel. But yeah, no, I feel really good at the moment. Second trimester is a vibe, honestly. Like the whole first couple of weeks feels like a distant memory now. So I'm just enjoying all the good hormones, and or being able to tell people as well has been really nice. I think it was quite a lonely period before as well, when you've got to keep it a bit quiet and you're a bit nervous before you scan. And so now I've just settled into it really well. So it's good.
How was the beginning of the pregnancy?
Okay, so I had like every textbook symptom, which is also really reassuring. It's difficult, but really reassuring, because obviously you know that you are pregnant and your body's doing what it's supposed to. But there's quite a few things I didn't know about. Like I knew there'd be nausea and maybe food aversions, but I didn't know you'd feel that tired. And I feel like I've felt tiredness before, but actually I hadn't. It kind of felt like I'd taken a sleeping pill and just was going about my day without sleeping. It was just horrific. But I had really low iron as well. So that kind of makes sense. I was like going through it tenfold. But but my husband was just amazing throughout the whole thing, being really attentive and lovely and patient. And I had to tell my mum a little bit earlier on, and I had to tell the girls at work, like I had to tell my employees, because I needed to give them some context. I was like, they probably think I'm such a terrible boss because I'm just not turning up. I'm like doing the bare minimum. But I was just in survival mode and taking each day as it came. And then literally as soon as I hit 11 weeks, I felt the difference. And it's quite interesting because literally it's because your placenta, you're building your placenta. And whilst that's happening, the baby's taking everything directly from you. And then there's a point where it switches over and the placenta takes over, so then you can feel yourself again. So there's been a lot of things I'm learning at the same time, but I'm also just so fascinated at what my body's doing without me even thinking about it. It's incredible. So yeah, it was interesting, but luckily I wasn't sick too much, so I'm quite grateful for that, because I've heard some really interesting stories from friends and things like that who've had it worse than me, but it was a lot. I can't lie.
We're going to move on to fertility a little bit later in our chat, but
Yes.
I'm so intrigued as to how the girls at Nikita responded when you told them.
Oh, it was the cutest. I've actually got a video. I'm going to be posting it soon. It's just, they were just so sweet. I think because we're really close.
Yeah.
And I don't even mean to do this, but I've become friends with my employees. I'm just a really open and I love a deep chat, as you know, and we've just really close. Like, they've both worked with me full time for 4 to 5 years now. So, and we have girly chats a lot. So they're in tune with like the fact that we were trying, and like, say if one of us is like in the luteal phase and just going through their own thing, like, we kind of know, and we're kind of in sync with each other. And I like working that way. I think that's a really nice feature within like feminine leadership, to actually be in tune with your staff emotionally and physically. So when I told them, they were just genuinely so happy for me. It was the cutest thing. It felt as if I was telling like family members almost. And their reaction was so genuine. I think they see me day in, day out, and they knew like when I was feeling down each month, it wasn't quite happening for us. And then, yeah, to surprise them with that was awesome. And I'm so glad I got it on camera. It was the cutest.
Oh,
yeah.
I can't wait to see it. My next question to that is, how do you strike a balance between being their boss and their friend?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think there was a certain point where I just stopped trying to do that, because I can't imagine being anything other than myself day in, day out with these people that, I mean, that's 8 hours a day. And there are a lot of ups and downs, and we've seen each other go through quite a lot of different things. Like one of my employees dealt with cancer recently, and I was with her throughout a lot of that, and just so much emotion, but also like empowerment and like comfort. There's just a lot going on, and they've seen me go through so many different stages of life as well. And I think naturally you just become close. But we tend to kind of, when we hang out outside of work, it's more planned, as opposed to like, oh, do you fancy going shopping or whatever? Like, I kind of maybe keep a little bit of a boundary there, just because it could definitely blur the lines maybe a bit too much. But at work, it's always been a close yet respectful relationship between us. It's genuinely been really nice. I've never felt tension or like things are left unsaid, because we talk and communicate a lot. And I can't imagine being a boss any other way. And I actually wouldn't really recommend it. I think keeping that distance just creates just unnecessary discomfort, in my opinion. But everyone's different. So
That is true. Actually, my own journey as a manager at work was very similar when I started managing my own team, and I found myself being very friendly and, quite open, and similar to you, not knowing any other way. And sometimes then going home and questioning like, oh, was I too friendly? Or, are they going to respect me still?
Yeah.
Or is the work still going to get done? So yeah, it's an interesting balance to be struck, but it really sounds like sinking into, running this brand over time has kind of created that natural dynamic for you. So that's really nice to see, and nice that it's possible.
Yeah. And I think with what we represent as a brand as well, I think it'd be quite important to have that kind of like be in tune with each other and actually care about each other, rather than just it being purely business all the time. Like,
gosh, that would be so boring, wouldn't it?
That's a very like masculine way of running a company, I
think.
But,
absolutely. So speaking of growing Nikita and running it for the last 10 years, I mean, I've followed your journey for, I feel like near the beginning, actually, when you were, I think, starting to launch your first necklaces, those chunky necklaces.
Oh my God, that's like retro.
Yeah, so I've kind of on and off followed your journey in that time. And what I've noticed is very recently, we don't see as much of you on social media, and you've talked about it, and I think you've been quite intentional about it. But I want to dig a bit deeper into that, and I'd love to know, how has your perception of success and what it takes to run a business like Nikita, how has that shifted as you've sort of pulled back from social media?
That's such a good question. I'm really glad you did bring this up because it's something I feel very strongly about. And definitely the word intentional, I think, that's definitely how it feels. It's been something I was trying to navigate for a little while, like years before I actually did it. I was like, okay, how do I pivot this? Because it wasn't really working for me because I had a page that blended my personal life with my business, which did work for the most part. It really did. And it got the business off the ground and I was able to grow and build recognition that way. But where it was so tied to me as an individual, I think it kind of prohibited me scaling properly, which I think kind of goes against what a lot of people may think from what they see on social media at the moment, where they see brands that are all founder-led, you know, people crying on camera, telling every single story and everything, which is lovely, like especially if you're following someone right from the beginning. But I've been doing this for so long now, and we're doing quite like high level, not so interesting stuff. It's not events, it's not photo shoots anymore. It's like the real deep stuff. Like I'm just sometimes just working on growing our Amazon account and things like that, which honestly the turnover can be incredible. But because people won't necessarily be too interested in that, we're just not sharing it. And then I think from an outside perspective, it may seem that we've gone a bit quiet, or maybe sales aren't as crazy because we're not in that viral space. But it couldn't be further from how things actually are. And I am a firm believer that if you do want to really scale, you don't need to be putting too much time and energy into social media. I think it can actually, in a lot of cases, be a distraction. Unless it becomes very natural for you, it's working extremely well and you've got consistent sales coming through it, then that's great. If you're going and going and going and pouring and pouring and pouring, hoping for one viral video and expect your business to take off that way, it's just not how scaling a business works. And this has come from years of learning many things the hard way, trial and error over and over again, and speaking to a lot of successful founders, many of which are not on social media. So I'm coming at it from when you really want to scale, not from when you want to get 100k followers and, you know, sell some things on TikTok Shop. I mean, that's fantastic and that can go viral and that can be incredible. But to put all your eggs in that basket, I think can deplete your resources and your energy and your time. And there are so many other ways to grow, which aren't talked about enough, but they're where I know a lot of people would prefer to be, because it's hard online at the moment. And I've proven it, to be honest. I've proven it to myself, and I'd love to share the techniques of how I've done that. And a lot of it has been via scaling on Amazon US, which I can't imagine people talk about too much.
Probably not.
Online, yeah.
It's not that glamorous.
Yeah. And also learning and having the autonomy over our own meta ads and things like that. So actually advertising with more intention and making sure that ads are profitable, understanding how to do that, what things will work, and then actually homing in on the exact audience I want to reach. Yes, I'm paying for those ads, but if they're profitable, then that's great. I'm reaching the right people. I'm getting way more valuable customers in, rather than relying on a really sporadic algorithm that's just going to send my jewelry designs to some old man in like Alabama who's just going to troll me. Like, what is the point? What is the point? So like I'm homing in on things that work and just doing more of it rather than just trimming the fat around it. And that has been incredible for us. So I'm very much a believer of the inch wide, mile deep mentality now when it comes to business, and it's really proven to work for us. So I can definitely go into more of that if you want, but yeah, I could chew your ear off all day about this.
Well, inch wide, mile deep is a very interesting analogy that actually I'm hearing for the first time right now. So could you delve a bit deeper into what that actually means when you're running a business?
Yes, definitely. So I think a misconception is that when you have a brand, it just needs to be everywhere. And I think that's great if you've got a huge budget and you can be everywhere and have this brand awareness kind of strategy. If you're a small business, you have limited budget, you have limited resources, you have limited time and energy. And honestly, the last 3 years, we've decided to focus on the products that are working rather than build this entire catalogue purely for the sake of it, to look good, or and be on every platform just to catch everyone. Like, just doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
And an example would be, we've had this cocktail shaker, which is kind of like a random product within our homeware collection, considering we're an empowering jewelry brand. But that cocktail shaker, every year around Christmas, sells out. It has been relentless. And I can't explain it. I don't know how it happens. It's on each platform, and it just always sells out. And every year I'm in the same predicament of, that could have carried on selling really well into January, because on Amazon as well, the trajectory carries on into the new year. It doesn't just end after Christmas. It actually carries on. And I've just wondered, like, why am I letting this sell out every year? If I kept it in stock, then the sales would continue and the turnover would be fantastic. But I just kept letting it happen. So I was like, do you know what? I need to actually pour my budget into the right product that keeps selling, whether or not I'm emotionally attached to it or not. I need to just follow what's working. And that's just one example. And there are some certain jewelry pieces as well that I've just picked up unexpectedly. And then I've kind of let sell out, and it just doesn't make any business sense. So working smarter, homing in on what works and just doing more of it. Same with when we do our paid ads. If there's a particular ad that just proves to work every time, I'm just going to record more that are exactly like it. It's just taking the emotion out of everything and just following the data, which very much goes against my personality. Like, I'm very much a creative, emotional person, but that's how we've scaled the best we have in the last couple of years, and in way more of a kind of behind the scenes, discreet way that isn't all over social media. So yeah, it's been really interesting.
What's striking me a lot about what you're saying regarding the cocktail shaker specifically is that me as a consumer or as a customer of Nikita, or somebody who follows you, does not know that, right? That's something you're doing behind the scenes, but people don't necessarily need to know that that's a hero product for you.
So true.
Right? It's like you can advertise and promote the stuff that actually aligns more with like the ethos of the brand, but it doesn't necessarily need to be the whole picture. It can be the tip of the iceberg.
I love that. Yeah. And also it helps us fund the projects that are more meaningful to us.
Yep.
So it kind of bankrolls the business in the background.
Exactly. So it's actually working in your favour.
Quite frankly, that's a smart way to do it, rather than borrow money or just keep pouring into something that isn't quite gathering the sales. But that's what we do. We almost use the cocktail shaker as the product, the hero product in the background, that then I can use the turnover from that to put into the products that are more meaningful to me and the girls. And it just is a much smarter way to do things, rather than put all of my eggs in the baskets that are far riskier and slower moving. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
And speaking of, you have your ear cuffs, which actually do align a lot with the ethos of the brand, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've been seeing that a lot on social media. And actually the first thing I wondered, and this might be a slightly weird thing to wonder, but in your reel or in the ad that came up, I'm not sure if it was an ad or a reel that came up, but you said that this is selling out. This is like, you know, one of your most successful products. And in my head, the first thing I thought, well, why is she advertising it if it's like such a successful product?
Yeah.
So it kind of aligns with what you're saying, right? Which is it's doing well, so let me push it out more.
Absolutely.
So tell me more about this ear cuff.
Yeah, of course. So it's successful because I'm advertising on it. So I advertise. So when we did this training on meta ads, so I really wanted to bring it in-house. I've bled a lot of money trusting agencies and things like that in the past. And I was almost under the impression that, it's so saturated, meta ads don't work, they can never be profitable, there's too much going on and they're too expensive. So I just like ruled it out for quite a few years after being burned for a while. Then we did this training in-house. We've now got a complete autonomy. Can't say that word. Anyway, so we've now got complete autonomy over our ads. And that has been quite empowering for us as a brand, because we're so in it. We're in with the creative. We're looking at the data. We're analysing it. We've learned so much this last year. And so we knew, okay, we want to start advertising Nikita properly on meta ads. I'm not relying on social media anymore. And when I say social media, I mean like the organic algorithm. I'm just not going to rely on it anymore. I'm going to do this with more intention. So we know that between me, Georgia and Maddie, there's the three of us, we can create great ads. We're really proficient when it comes to video editing and shooting, and we just absolutely love it. So it's like, why not put those skills at the forefront? Like, we know we can create ads that perhaps are better than others, right? So we did this training, we know how to do it. We realized within that training that to be able to advertise your brand, you don't just put all your products out there and then hope for the best. You need to pick one hero product or a product that solves a problem or has like an emotional connection or hits a pain point that will get people's attention, stop the scroll, and then they'll come in, buy that product, and then see the rest of your catalogue. So it was an experiment, to be quite honest. The cuff had sold well naturally on the website anyway, but we knew that product met the criteria. It was unique, it solved a problem. So it's basically a pain-free ear cuff that has a hinge, because anyone else that wears one, like they've normally experienced, it's quite uncomfortable. So we've made one that is pain-free. And literally I went at it with these angles of just me as the founder talking on camera, which I've never been uncomfortable doing. I've just not found it worth my time. So I'm thinking, yeah, let's give it a go. So I'm on camera just explaining all the selling points about the product. And then I can go in and explain all the USPs about Nikita, because we've been going for so long. We're genuinely sustainable, female owned, you know, all of these amazing things that we do, like free delivery, free returns, everything. So I can then shout about them. And then it brings people in. Then they see the rest of the catalogue. And they're the right customers, because we've basically niched down with the ad. We're like, basically saying, have you experienced this with an ear cuff before? If not, they'll carry on. If they have, then we've got their attention. And they're definitely someone that's worn jewellery before and probably experimented with that kind of product. So they're our kind of person, and they also want a problem solved. So it was interesting, but that was a product we chose to experiment with, and it worked. And it worked in such an amazing way that for such a tiny product, it became so mighty for us. And it's brilliant because we can ship that out in a tiny little package, and the postage is really quite cheap for us. So we can then invest in making our packaging like amazing, adding little like gifts in there, and just making the best first impression possible. So it's just been an amazing learning curve. And I think because of how many selling points there were to the product and how it hit the pain point, it just resonated with people, and then they just were convinced. They've already been sold. So by the time they go on the website, they don't mind what the cost is. And
that's true.
Then they look around. Yes, I've already done the work on the ad, and I've targeted that ad at the right people, not just, like I said, relying on an algorithm that's going to go to everyone. So it was quite the experience, and that's how business is normally done. Yet I just kept avoiding that and hoping that organically I'll find the right people, and that can work and that can be great. But this has been so insightful for us, and you get in what you put out of it at the end of the day. If you keep testing, turning off the ads that aren't working, create new ones, and just keep monitoring it, you're only going to do well within that. So yeah.
What platforms have you hosted these ads on? And like more practically, how much growth did you see in the sales in terms of this particular product after putting out those ads?
So just to give some clarity on numbers, the reason why I feel quite passionately about being able to grow off of social media. So for the cocktail shaker, for example, I'll just be really open. December last year, from scaling in the US on Amazon, which isn't necessarily easy to do, but it's worth doing because there's literally no ceiling. So once it's ranked, it flies. We got enough stock in, we got a container in, and we sent it directly to Amazon US's warehouse. So it was literally really passive. They were just going out. I didn't even have to do anything. We didn't have to package them. Already been organised. And that one product, so we had 3 colours, so gold, rose gold and silver. The gold variation, an example would be we sold over 1,000 in a month, and then that's just one colour. So as you can imagine, like it ended up being like £150,000 worth of sales for one product in the US. In the grand scheme of things, where I'd spent so much time and energy just selling an entire catalogue and like trying to be everywhere, I think that just gives a bit of context as to if you do the right thing on the right platform with the right budget and just channel your energy into what had already been working all those years, it's only going to do well. So the cuffs, we've just done meta ads. So that means Instagram and Facebook. That was what the training kind of advised. Again, don't get distracted with everything. I could be doing Pinterest ads, TikTok, I could be, but home in on this, get this right, and then move on. So we just did that, and the growth's been incredible. Literally practically 10x'd.
Whoa.
Yeah. I'm not joking. I can't believe it myself. And it's just so different to every tactic I've tried, but it makes so much sense and it's so straightforward. And if you really deep it, that's what all the brands are doing.
Yeah.
So all the big ones anyway. So I've stopped treating my brand like a small business on social media and actually been thinking about genuine scaling techniques and just being way more tactical.
Smarter, working smarter, right? But also opening up the realm of what you think is possible for your business in terms of how much money you can earn, what's possible, like what your limits are. And I don't know what your thoughts are around that, but that's something I'm working out within myself. I just quit my corporate job this year.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you.
I can imagine that being such a relief.
It is such a relief. And I'm, so grateful for all those years I worked in that company. But now I'm like on to the next thing. But I think something I'm sort of working out is what's possible in terms of specifically finances, because that's not something I've really thought about as I was doing this as a side hustle. And when this becomes your full-time thing, you're like, okay, what does this actually mean for me? And actually on a wider scale, I'm thinking about what I'm capable of, what's possible, what I deserve. And I want to go into that kind of aspect of the thinking around running a business now with you, which is, you've talked about the specifics of what's worked, what you've learnt in all those years of running this business. But what have you actually found within yourself in terms of like how you approach being an entrepreneur now?
That's such a lovely worded question. I love that because there's been a lot of inner growth, I think, as an entrepreneur and a founder, in that I'm not interested in running myself into the ground. Even if I used to previously enjoy it, if it's not working for me anymore, then I won't do it. And I've tried lots of things, so I can kind of go into those decisions quite confidently. So, for example, we talked about my podcast a minute ago, and that was something that I enjoyed, but because I wasn't able to do it as well as I wanted to, just for time constraints and everything, I decided I'm just going to leave that and move on. Again, trying to focus in on certain things. I think I was overwhelmed for many years because I was doing so much. And again, another decision we made was deciding not to do so many pop-ups. In fact, we're not really going to do any going forward because the ads that we're doing are working so well, and that's where we need to channel our time and energy. But the pop-ups we love. It's a shame because we're so good at them and we love them and we connect with our customers, and you get that real rush of oxytocin, which you don't get with online sales. You just don't. But the way it saps us is unbelievable. We are so exhausted, and that's the lead up beforehand, the kind of recovery afterwards. It's just actually it doesn't make business sense. And where I'm quite protective of my energy, I just think I can't do that anymore. There have been months in December where we've done pop-ups and done all this like social media content and like pushing the brand. And then honestly, my Decembers have been so intense that I think what made me realise that it was too much was when I wouldn't have a period that month. Like if I'm being really deep, that's when you know that like you're under too much stress. And I'd not really had that before. So I was like, I need to listen to my body. So I think that's where I'm at. I'm listening to my body. And what got me there was definitely considering my fertility and like actually thinking about my femininity. So I'm a bit more protective of my stress levels and my cortisol. It was all fun and games when I was younger and like experimenting, saying yes to everything. But now it's important to me to work smarter so I can be happier, calmer, and retain like a genuine like work-life balance that I'm proud of. And just live a softer, cozypreneur lifestyle. It's such a vibe, honestly. It's been amazing.
I see a lot of YouTube videos of cozypreneurs, right? And I always think of the behind the scenes, like what it looks like when they're filming it. I find it so comical. I'm like, oh, they're probably putting up a camera and then they're like, waking up or brushing their teeth, or they're like sitting at their really colorful, keyboard typing, hacking away. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
And I wonder, that all sounds great, like when you see a video on it, but what's the reality of being a cozypreneur or being somebody who's trying to embrace a softer life whilst turning over the most profit you've ever turned over in your whole career?
Oh, I love that you worded it that way as well, because I wouldn't want it to seem as if I'm leaning into my femininity, I'm suddenly just not ambitious or I'm suddenly not interested in contributing to my household. I'm not really that way inclined anyway, and ambition is a core part of my personality, and I'm not trying to suppress it with honouring my femininity more. But I think cozypreneurship is simply embracing comfort the majority of the time, and then stepping out of your comfort zone every now and again. And it's something I kind of did anyway, but I was just throwing myself into too many energy sapping things. So I'm still testing new techniques, as you know, I've just spoken about, and learning and growing as an individual and as a founder. But I'm choosing to work from home more. Our home renovation was a big project, which I loved. And it's like I get to actually benefit from that and be in that space. And also I get time to myself. I'm just kind of enjoying the calm, especially before having a family. It's just peace. But you're still working on something that's important to you and growing. I'm not at home just playing video games all day. Like I'm actually working still, but in a better environment. Like I'm very sensitive to my environment. And that's what I'm choosing to do, rather than be in this like hustle culture kind of mentality, which I'm just completely grown out of. So I think it's just basically doing what you're already doing, but in the comfort of your own home. That's kind of what I would say, or in the comfort of a cute little coffee shop, like kind of romanticizing working again, rather than just burning yourself out. Yeah.
And I guess it ties in a lot with the whole working smart thing, which is you've been in this space for so long that you've learned what works, what doesn't, and where you feel like you're, a hamster kind of constantly running on the wheel without that much output versus, you put a little bit effort, but you get more out of that.
Yeah.
And I think that comes with time. Like that's something that I'm also learning, right? That if you're in a space for long enough, and this is where I feel like it's also really important to stress that a lot of the time nowadays, everyone wants things quickly, right? It's what you were talking about, like chasing virality. We talk about this so much. I mean, this is so spoken about everywhere, right? But it's like genuinely the time will give you the experience, will give you the slow learning, and there's no other way to do it other than just put time into it, right? And effort over time.
Yeah.
I love this life for you, and I'm so happy that you're feeling so kind of settled into this lifestyle and, able to manage it. Do you still have moments where, it gets a bit much, especially now that you're pregnant and you're kind of planning ahead, like family-wise? Are you at points like, oh, this is getting a bit much, or, struggling?
I would say no at the moment, which apart from the first trimester when I couldn't go in for quite a while, and I just was kind to myself and just communicated with my team. I was like, I just need some time. And they appreciated that. Like, body's going through a lot. But otherwise, no, because I've trimmed so much fat from what I used to do, and I've homed in on what works. So it's just what I've noticed is I feel that better sense of reward and like return on investment of like everything we're putting into things. So because we're putting more budget towards things that are working, we get better results. So that in itself is really reassuring. Because before, what would burn me out was trying so hard on something and it not working and it just feeling like a flop. And it's like, then you got to pick yourself back up again. I think that was what I found exhausting. But now just doing what's working, taking a lot more time to myself. Like I actually work also with friends in a coffee shop once a week. I have 2 days at home and then 2 days in the office. So it's just a routine is what I really needed. I think I've got quite a ADHD brain, probably is quite common as an entrepreneur, but it's almost got more exaggerated as I've been running the business. So I was craving simplicity and routine, and I feel a lot more at peace now. I've set everything up for that reason, and also taken a step back from social media because that was exhausting in lots of different ways. And I've proven that I don't need to be on it, so I no longer have that guilt as well, which is good. Yeah. So I feel better, and it hasn't felt like that in a while actually, which is good.
That sounds lovely, and it sounds like you've got a really good balance of working from home and working in the office. I want to touch now on fertility because I think that's such a huge topic and it's so topical for you in your life right now. Talk to me about, the planning, the thinking around pregnancy, wanting to become a mum. Like, let's get into that.
Yeah. Oh God, this is such a meaty topic, but I feel really passionate about it, and I love that we're talking about it, especially being within the South Asian community because the pressure is intense. And I've been married for 3 years. So as you can imagine, everyone's breathing over my shoulder like they have been for a while now. It's just naturally the next thing that everyone expects. And I told you earlier, but like whilst my husband and I were planning the wedding, And that year I turned 30. I had like all these events, my hen, like rebranding of the business. And I was so stressed. I just couldn't imagine having a baby at that time. The thought of it just terrified me. So I was like, how does anyone cope? Like because I was so maxed out and at my absolute capacity in every way possible. So I just had a word with my family and said, look, I don't know if I'm ready to have kids. I spoke to my husband about it. He kind of like followed my lead on a lot of things anyway. He didn't feel too strongly either way. I think he was also not feeling ready. So we had a discussion. I then told my family, just please don't bring it up. I'm freaking out. They were quite shocked because I'd always had like a maternal side to my personality. Like I'd always been very homely and loved hosting, and I love all the little babies in our family. So I think everyone was a bit confused, but also gave me the space, which I really needed. And then the next 3 years, to be quite honest, was like a lot of soul searching. And we discussed the term when we met before, inner turmoil, and 100% how I felt. But with that, because I'm such an open person, I love a deep chat, I was talking to everyone about how I felt. And I was absorbing so much information and sharing. And honestly, just from doing that, I think I got to a place where I could actually make a decision. And what's bizarre is growing up in the South Asian community and watching all of my family grow up and have kids, get married, have kids. I just forgot it was a choice. Until I was like 29, I was like, hang on a minute, I actually don't need to, I don't want to. Like child-free life sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I really contemplated it and spoke about it with my husband. Just like we discussed like what it could look like for us. We could be, traveling, like be financially just like independent and just like chilled. And it sounds fantastic. So then my algorithm was half showing me that side and then half showing me all these like maternal people, and oh my god, it was such a representation of how confused my head was. My algorithm's all over the place. But I obviously tried not to look at what everyone else was doing anyway. But I'm very much someone who I listen to myself. Probably a theme you've detected from what I've spoken about. I have to go with what I'm feeling, and at the time I was not sure, and I needed to figure it out for myself. I couldn't let anyone else make this decision for me, because if I get into motherhood, and I've seen a lot of burnt out, resentful mums, I don't want to be that. I don't want to feel like I've lost myself. I don't want to feel like I've done it for other people and resent them. I want to step into it in an empowered way, and I needed time. And I don't care about my body clock. I just don't care. If I'm not okay up here, that's all that matters. So it took those 3 years to really soul search, have all the conversations, go on like an insane girls trip, which was the best. Like I just needed that. Like it was such a fun blowout. And I knew it was kind of the last time I'd be doing that for a while, because I was like, this is what I need to do before having a family. And then my husband and I went on this adventure, like the one you just couldn't do with a small baby, just like ticking all these little things off. And then on that trip, we had discussions, which I think are so important for any couple. The real gritty conversations, which are, why do we want to have children? What kind of parents do we want to be? What would you do in these certain scenarios? I even like brought up like certain things that may happen. What if a child doesn't turn out how we expect, or they end up going down a path we don't want them to? Would we ever regret? Like everything you could think of, every difficult topic, we just discussed openly, honestly. And it felt like great progress and like a weight had been lifted. And I'm really glad we had those conversations. And I think we came back from that holiday feeling like, yeah, okay, I've done it all. The house is like at a point where it's no longer a building site, so that's great. I've been nesting like psychologically probably for like 3 years now anyway, subconsciously. And we've had the difficult conversations. I really trust this man with everything. I just know he's been an amazing dad. He's been so incredibly patient as well with me, because I've been dealing with this inner turmoil. And family had given us space. I'd had my wicked girls trip. I was like, do you know what? This sounds pretty nice. And the biggest thing that was the telltale sign for me was how I felt how I started to feel when other friends were saying they were pregnant. That is just such a visceral feeling you can't deny, and you can't ignore it. And it's really good to pay attention to. If you feel a little pang, you're like, oh, my body's ready. I'm ready. My mind's ready. And I feel like that was the biggest indicator for me because, I hadn't felt like that previous years when I'd heard someone's news. But it was only then I started to feel like, oh, I really want this for myself. And then when we started trying, that felt like a weight off my shoulders. I was like, okay, finally made a decision. I was like, oh, amazing. And it was a well thought out decision for us as a couple. No one else got involved, which I'm really, really pleased about. So then we started trying, and then I was like, okay, I don't know how long it's going to take. Could it take a couple of months? After about 3-4 months, when it wasn't happening for us, that's when I really knew this is what I want.
Okay.
And yeah, you know when you have that little heartbreak every month, like you know where you're at. So yeah, it's been amazing to find out we are pregnant, and yeah, what a journey. Like honestly, it's took me a while to get there, but yeah.
When you had that discussion when you were abroad with your husband, what kind of things were you aligned on, and were there things that actually you weren't fully aligned on, and how did you navigate that?
That's interesting. I think we were generally quite aligned. We are anyway. We're very similar in terms of our deep values, but then very different in the way our minds work. So he's very logistical. I'm very emotional and creative. So on our wedding vows, I said that I'm the numbers, and no, he's the numbers and I'm the drawings, which is sweet. And I think that's what makes us a really good team. Like, even when we're renovating the house, like I'm doing the designing work, he's the one that's budgeting and speaking to all the tradesmen, and it's just like it works. And I know that when we approach parenthood, because of how much of a team we've been in so many different parts of our life, I just know we'll tackle things the right way. And our communication's got so strong over the years. I'm like so comfortable having an uncomfortable conversation, and so is he. So I think we just have that trust in each other that even if we do disagree down the line, we'll figure it out. And just remember that we're a team and we both want the same thing deep down. So it felt very aligned. I knew it would, to be honest, but we just needed the chat. We needed to just rip the plaster off, and like any like concern or fear was brought to the table when we addressed it, and then we just both felt so much better afterwards. It was really, really good to do that. Yeah.
It's really heartwarming to see you light up talking about this,
yeah.
because it really feels like you've made this decision from such an empowered place.
Thank you.
And I want to stress how much of a privilege that is as well, to kind of be able to make that decision for yourself, because I know people who don't necessarily have that space to do that, because there is a lot more pressure than what we even realize.
Yeah.
But you're so right. I think the pressure is such a thing in the community, and I guess I want to kind of pinpoint, what was that moment for you where you were like, actually, I'm going to shut out the noise from elsewhere, and I'm going to listen to myself. Like, was there a turning point, or do you think it was gradual?
I think it was something I always imagined being part of my life, but when I was going through the burnout and stress of the wedding planning, which already came with so much pressure, I just felt myself naturally pushing back at people, and quite unapologetically as well. I remember we came back from our honeymoon and I bumped into my mum's friends at the gym, and they were like, oh, what about babies? And I was like, we're not ready yet. Just dead in the eye. And they felt uncomfortable. I was like, I'm glad you feel uncomfortable, because what a stupid question. I've literally just come back from my honeymoon. Give me a minute. I'm just sick of it. I really am. Like, I'm not scared of saying how I feel anymore, because from what I've heard and my research and what I've gathered from friends and loved ones, is having children is the biggest decision you'll ever make in your life. You can't be doing it for anyone else. And I'm sure like you'll like lean into it and everything like that when it happens, and you'll be fine. But I just didn't want to become resentful in motherhood at other people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like to regret things. And I know that if I've made a genuine, wholehearted, well thought out decision around something, I will roll with it and trust myself no matter what is thrown at me. So, yeah, just had to push back. But I've kind of always done that. I've not been afraid of doing that.
I think you and I have that in common, actually, not wanting to regret things, and also not wanting to resent anyone else, because that's such a heavy burden to carry for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I think we all have that insight. We have that, like, the information now these days where you can read about it. You probably will get targeted, reels about it or whatever. And we will have the opportunity to be able to say, actually, no, this isn't for me right now.
Yeah.
So how amazing and how inspiring, actually.
Thank you.
That this is how it's kind of unfolded for you. And I guess something that I'm sure a lot of people will be wondering, as the founder of Nikita, how are you preparing your business for that time where you're going to be on maternity leave?
Yes, so I feel like I've already been subconsciously preparing it as well. Like I said, I was subconsciously nesting my home. I was doing it with the business. As soon as I realised that fertility was something I needed to put at the forefront, I was very protective over my stress levels. So, for example, like why we decided not to do any more pop-ups and all these sort of things. So, and then when I started working from home more, and to be honest, since I started doing that, it's given the girls the room to grow into their roles. And honestly, me moving out the way, I've seen them in a completely different way and they have excelled. So it's been really interesting. If anything, maybe I was like too involved. Because they say you're meant to hire well and then move out the way. And I didn't do that for a long time. So it's given them the room to flourish. It's given me the room to actually like home into my femininity and my essentially my fertility, and just live a more like peaceful existence, which has helped me actually be able to conceive, I think. So I've already stepped back and the girls are used to me not being in the office as much. But if they need something, then they can contact me. And I kind of imagine, even freshly postpartum, like I don't mind if they've got a quick question, I'll answer it. So rather than me work up until 8 months and then not work for 9 months or whatever, or like a year, I'm just going to work a very small amount every week, like a couple of hours, like an hour a day would be fine for me. Maybe not freshly postpartum, but like I'd probably spread it out over a longer period of time, so I can be consistently there when the girls need me, but also keep my distance and focus on my new little baby. So it's kind of something I've already set up and the girls are used to, so it won't be a shock to them. So even when I've been on holiday, for example, they just do so well without me there. So yeah, it's given them the room to grow and me the room to already think about that and set myself up for my maternity leave, as they'd say. Yeah.
I think that's a real testament to how you've approached business overall in terms of like having a forward-thinking mindset, but also I know it's really hard to let go sometimes as somebody who runs their own thing. I can relate to that so much. And what's really nice is it really sounds like your colleagues are super passionate about the brand as well, because it's like they see it as their own and that's why they want to take it forward, which is such a nice thing to have. I find that so amazing that you said that you can actually spread it out over a longer period of time, because when I thought about running my own business, I think one of the big questions that came to mind was, well, what about mat leave? I had this amazing mat leave package at work and I'm letting go of that. And then I was like, well, I'm nowhere near like that phase in my life. So why am I thinking? Of course, I'm a woman and I'm in my 30s. So of course, I'm going to think about that. And something, I don't know if it was something somebody said or I read it somewhere where it was like, oh, but isn't running your business even harder because you're never going to be able to switch off? Like, how do you even get mat leave? And here's you actually curating your own mat leave and being like, actually, I'm not going to be 100% switched off, but maybe I'll be 95% switched off for at least the beginning, and I'll just kind of see how it goes. And having that team around you to support you, having your partner supporting you, like I think you've set those foundations so gradually and naturally over time, which is actually something that we all in some senses also do, but I think we don't trust ourselves enough because we're so caught up in that capitalistic mindset of, oh, but 12 months mat leave, pay, and you can't let go of that. So yeah, but you can design that how you want, absolutely. I guess, as a business owner.
I think it's something I'm really passionate about. It's just designing life your own way. Forget what everyone else is doing for a minute, because once you just home in on what makes sense, like everything is just so much easier. And if it works for you, it works for you. Like I understand that that's how most people go about maternity leave, but that's not going to work for me. Yeah. Like the girls would struggle if I just stopped speaking to them for a best part of a year. Like I need to show up and I want to as well. I don't want to just lose touch with it completely. And if it's never going to be a problem for me to answer questions and help them move the needle, I would hate to be the reason something's being held up.
Yeah.
Or so yeah, I think that's just something that I naturally just thought of in my head because it made sense, regardless of what everyone else does around mat leave. But who knows? I might want to never touch the business again. I might just want to spend my life being a trad wife. I don't know.
Trad wife life, yes.
I have no idea, but we'll see. I'm just not putting too much pressure on anything. Like, I'll go with how I feel at the time, and I'll go with what makes sense to me at the time, regardless of what anyone thinks or what they're doing, basically. So, yeah.
I want to deep dive a little bit more into the femininity aspect, because I feel like that's something you're very passionate about recently, really putting that at the forefront of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Practically, what does that actually look like in your life? Like being more feminine. What does that mean?
I just love this so much. I've got so much to say. Honestly, considering writing a book on it, like I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. Because I'm someone who started a business to prove people wrong. And that, I think, is a pretty toxic reason to start a business. And what happened off the back of that was I ended up doing something I loved, and it was empowering, and I found a lot of self-worth and built a community and just connected with loads of women. Fantastic. But I just ended up in this like masculine energy for ages. And I just knew that I was fighting against myself for a really long time, because I'm naturally such a girly girl. I love being around other women. I love hosting. I love like designing my house and making it comfortable. I just love all the traditional girly things, but I was fighting against it because I had to be this like boss chick who showed up every day and like didn't show emotion, all this sort of stuff. Like even the topic of how did you like not connect with your, how did you stop being friends with your staff? I've just realised that is quite a masculine thing to expect of yourself. So I've just realised that so much of my burnout was fighting against my femininity for so many years. And what forced me to realise that were two things, which was my sleep I basically developed insomnia, which was awful. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, to be quite honest. And that forced me to really take a look inward. It's like, why am I so stressed? Because I feel fine in the day, but obviously it's manifesting at night. So I had to take a look inward. And then B was when I wanted to consider my fertility. So they're the two big life-changing things which forced me to recover my femininity. And when I stepped into it, like, and just let go of so many toxic traits I had developed, I felt so much better. And with that, it comes from understanding the strengths of feminine leadership rather than resisting them. So say if I'd be at a networking event, I'd be talking to men, I would try and like match their energy and like, but then now I just kind of realised that actually the way I go about business is completely different to how they do it, but has so many amazing features that, you know, emphasis on the culture, the community, like the connection, and just the way that like I can hold space for how my staff are feeling emotionally, and like that encourages better loyalty and like overall happiness within a work environment. Like there's so many amazing things that women can offer a company. So I just stopped hiding it and like suppressing it, and actually was proud of it and homed in more on that rather than trying to be like, you know, whatever the men were doing. And that's been great. And also being in tune with my cycle, just life-changing. I just came off the hormonal pill, which I just really am quite against, to be quite honest. And then just tapped into where I was at on my cycle each month, and then just organised my calendar, my social events and my meetings and things around it, because I excel amazingly at certain times of the month, and then I'm just the worst version of myself at the other time. So why should I pretend I'm the same throughout the whole month when I'm biologically, chemically, hormonally absolutely not? Like I couldn't keep doing that. Like after I did that pop up and I said I didn't have a period, I was like, that is not okay.
Yeah,
That's like the
really
peak. Yeah. And when I was losing sleep and things like that, she's like, these things are not okay. And ultimately they're going to prohibit me being able to have a baby one day. So my body as a woman needs to feel safe. It needs to flow. And I just need to be protective of my cortisol and my stress. So homing in on that was amazing. And also what came with that was throwing myself into like female founder events and things like that, and just aligning with these women and how they run their businesses and realizing that that is brilliant and that's okay, rather than trying to keep up with how men do it. It's exhausting.
And it's valid. The way you do it is valid.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And I think we forget that sometimes because there's so much noise everywhere around like how to be a founder, right? And yes, there's a lot of pushback on that now. There's other ways of doing it and people are being a lot more open and vocal about it. But I do think there's a deep-rooted conditioning in all of us from when we were much younger about what it was to be a business owner, and those masculine traits, right, are at the forefront of that. So I think it's amazing that people like yourself are breaking through that. Niki, I'm so thrilled to catch you in this phase of your life. Your journey has just been amazing to witness, and also it's been great to actually hear about all those reflections over those 10 years. I really hope that a lot of people gain some level of empowerment from this conversation, because I feel like you're in a really empowered phase and I want that to come across to everybody. So hopefully it has. And I'm so excited for your journey as a mum. You're going to be amazing. No pressure, but you are naturally. It seems like it's something that will come to you. And good luck for it all. You know, we're wishing you all the best.
Thank you. And definitely keep an eye out, because I really want to start a YouTube channel and just share all this sort of stuff, like just chilled, feminine conversations. I'm not putting too much pressure on myself with it, but it's definitely where I feel I can impart a lot of value. And I'm just definitely at that stage now. Rather than constantly selling to people, I've just got a lot I want to share, just from being so introspective and reflective over the last couple of years. So yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, you have a lot of value to give, and I'm sure people will be really excited for that. A final question that I leave all my guests with is, Niki, what do you have strong game in?
I think I've got strong game in resisting what society and what everyone else is doing, and just doing my own thing based on what makes sense to me and what feels right. And that's something I'm quite proud of. So yeah.
I love that for you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, for sharing your inner thoughts with us. I feel like there's been a lot of sharing today, and I hope that your business continues to thrive. I hope you continue working smart, creating more hero products, and with less effort, getting a lot of return on your investment of time and effort. So keep bringing value to everybody, I guess, through your beautiful designs and through your storytelling, which I feel like is a phase you're now stepping into a bit more. And wishing you all the success.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Niki.
Thank you.
Yay. Yay.